Hey everybody, we're continuing our look at the battle on Mount Carmel. Technically, the battle's done, but the story isn't. And so remember that this all started because Elijah gone to King Ahab and said, "Look, it's not going to rain until I say so." And so they have this battle. God shows up, Baal does not. And so I'm going to pick it up in verse 41 and just kind of finish us off here with us today. And Elijah said to Ahab, "Go eat and drink, for there is the sound of a heavy rain." So Ahab went off to eat and drink, but Elijah climbed to the top of Mount Carmel, bent down to the ground, and put his face between his knees. "Go and look toward the sea," he told his servant. And he went up and looked. "There is nothing there," he said. 7 times Elijah said, "Go back." The seventh time the servant reported, "A cloud as small as a man's hand is rising from the sea." So Elijah said, "Go and tell Ahab, hitch up your chariots and go down before the rain stops you." Meanwhile, the sky grew black with clouds, and the wind rose, and a heavy rain started falling. And Ahab rode off to Jezreel. The power of the Lord came on Elijah, and tucking his cloak into his belt, he ran ahead of Ahab all the way to Jezreel. And so we see that at this moment after the battle on Mount Carmel, the word of the Lord comes to Elijah, and he tells Elijah to tell Ahab, "Rain's coming. The point has been made. I am God. Yahweh is God, and you are not, Ahab. You've been a fool. But now the rain is going to come." And so Elijah goes up on the mountain, and he prays for the rain to come. And he had to do that 7 times before the servant saw a cloud. This is a story that reminds us how persistent we need to be in our prayers. We can't just pray for something that God has put on our hearts once and call it good. We have to keep on praying through things. Even though it may seem like a ridiculous amount of time, we need to persevere in our prayers. Jesus talks about this several times to his disciples. He says, "When you pray, do not give up." How many times in our prayers do we continue to pray for the things of God and we get discouraged because we don't see it? We pray for the end to this pandemic. We pray to the end of cancer. We pray to the end for the end of so many things, loved ones that we know. And God is saying, don't give up praying. And also in that the answer may not be what we've expected it to be. We've talked about that before. But the idea of persisting in our prayer, praying and not giving up. Elijah prayed 7 times for it to happen. Later in the book of James, James talks about how Elijah prayed and rain came. We need to be persistent in our prayers. If God is putting something on your heart to pray for, then pray for it until He takes that away from that burden away from you. Now, I'm not saying pray for a Ferrari because I don't think that's of God necessarily, but pray for the things of God, things like revival, pray for things like healing, pray for prodigals to come home, pray for the lost to be found, pray for the hungry to get food, pray for the things that we know touch the heart of God. And don't be surprised if God says, "I'm going to use you to help with that." But we have to continue in our prayer. We have to pray through as much as we can. So, church, keep on keeping on. I know these are hard days, but we got to pray through. We can't give up now. God is too good, and He is still on His throne. So, keep on keeping on, and God be with you this day.